Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to Lunchtime Live, Knicks recap and reaction show. The Knicks lost to the Indiana Pacers at MSG, 137 to 134 in overtime. And for those of us who thought this would just be, if we can just get out in front, rest our players, because this is, the front end of a back-to-back, Indiana had something to say about that. If the Knicks were, we're thinking that. I mean, I'm your host, Stephanie, a.k.a. Queen. I'm joined by my illustrious co-host, Geoff Klafter from the Happily Ever Klafter Daily Sports Blog. That link is in the description and also in his subheading. I will say this real quick, Geoff. Winning a championship is a process, right? Like, you have to learn how to be good. You have to learn how to be great. And part of that is learning how to approach a game mentally, right? And I don't think the Knicks are there yet, but I think they're learning. And listen, even good teams with a championship mentality blow games at times, right? Have bad games at times. But I still don't think the Knicks are there yet. I think they're learning. I think it's like carrying water and chopping wood. Same thing each time. Understand the game plan discipline, show up with the same urgency no matter what. And that's hard because they're human. But I think championship teams, they just override the human element a lot of times. Not always, but a lot of times. The fatigue, the overconfidence that somehow you turned the corner or you just have to show up, playing bad teams. You just kind of learn how to override the human element. We're going to be champions. This is what we need to do. We need to do it the same way. And the Knicks, in my opinion, just aren't there yet. And which is fine. Like, you could say this is a relatively, same core, but new coach. I'm confident they'll get there. I just think this was a game that, even without Mitchell Robinson, even without OG, this was a game the Knicks should have won. That's just how I, that's just how I feel about it. And maybe I'm reading too much into their lack of preparedness as a championship team and their mentality. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I've just seen enough to know that it's growing, but it's not quite there yet. Geoff, just your overall thoughts on the game last night before we delve into it.
Well, this is one that caused me to lose sleep. I was not happy with this performance at all. I don't understand how a team that has lived rent-free in your head space for the last 2 years, knocked you out of the playoffs twice, and is in a down spot, and you are you come out with a lackluster, subpar effort. I will never understand. And it seems like the Knicks do this a lot because they did it with Detroit too. Like, they don't come out and match the opponent's energy, and it's a problem. It's kind of funny that I think whatever your Knicks narrative is, this game kind of allowed you to feed it. And what I mean by that is, if you want to say that Brunson took over the ball too much in the fourth quarter and overtime and didn't make shots and his process wasn't good, despite overall having 8 assists and 1 rebound in the first, throughout the game, I think that's fair. If you want to say that Towns cost us by getting into foul trouble and only playing 32 minutes and not making any of his outside shots, I think that's fair. If you want to say that the bench was atrocious and couldn't and got dominated by the other team's bench, I think that's fair. If you want to include injuries, as a reason why they didn't perform up to par. I think that's fair. And so you have a lot of different elements that all sort of came crashing down at the same time. But I feel like this team was unprepared for this game, and that to me is disturbing. And you know, take care of business in a game like this, because these losses do matter, right? I understand what you're saying, but these losses do matter because the standings are so tight. Like you tell me when we get to April 12th, we might not be wishing we had this one back. I think that we very well might. And so, it's a missed opportunity, and it's something that now you've played a lot of, a lot more minutes, and now you're going to be more tired for tonight. Now, Mitchell Robinson is supposed to be back, and I don't know what OG Anunoby's status is, but with that toe, that kind of scares me a little bit too. We definitely missed him on the court last night, but the Knicks process, and the Knicks did not play smart basketball last night. They were very sloppy. They were they played to the level of their competition, and it was just super disappointing and probably costly defeat, even though all of the things that you said I agree with, and especially in the fact that Oklahoma City lost at home to this Thunder team. I mean, to this exact same Indiana team like less than a month ago. So you can't make the blanket statement that championship teams don't lose these kinds of, like, this is the defending champions lost a similar kind of game. So we can't say that, but I think there's a lot of nuance to this game, and I think it's some things that we should talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I wouldn't just make a blatant statement, but you can look at Oklahoma City, and that could be an example of, even championship level teams lose to teams like this. The Knicks are not there yet. So I don't think the Knicks losing to Indiana is the same, in my opinion, as OKC losing. I just think over the course of watching the Knicks, I just don't think the Knicks are there, in my opinion. And I hope I'm wrong. I'm just in terms of mentally how you approach. Like, we just seen too many games of the Knicks just coming out over, outplaying the odds and like showing up big, and then other games where you're like, what happened? Right? I just don't think that's a consistent. You can be consistent in that respect and still have a dud. Fair. I just don't think the Knicks have been consistent in that respect. But I will say, to your point about, Indiana, listen, they came in with on a 4-game losing streak, the league's fewest road wins at 3. They ranked last in offense, and they put up 134 points on the Knicks. Okay, in overtime, but they had about 120 something.
In 137, and they put up 13 in the extra period, so 124 in regulation.
Yeah. 8 players in double figures behind Siakam's 30 and Nembhard 24. They rose to the occasion, and the Knicks didn't. And I want to start with the bench. We got nothing from ours, and they got everything from theirs. And listen, yes, Mitchell Robinson was out. Yes, Shamet had to, start. Yes, Miles. I don't even know if we can continue to mention McBride, because he's been out for a long time, and the Knicks have been, playing well.
And he's not coming back either.
Yeah, right.
Not coming back till playoff time, right?
Right. Clarkson, 13 minutes, 4 points. He was 2 for 4. Alvarado, 18 minutes, 4 points, 1 for 5, 0 for 3 from the 3-point line. Okay, first home game, a lot of energy with him coming back to New York. Granted, Diawara, 18 minutes, 1 of 2, only took 2 shots. Huckporty in his 21 minutes, 7 points, 5 rebounds. And you could say they didn't really play, a lot of minutes. You can't really get on them, especially the young guys. Nope. Ben Shepherd, 17 minutes, 10 points. Kobe Brown, 19 minutes, 8 points. TJ McConnell, 16 minutes, 18 seconds, 13 points. And Cam Jones is more consistent to how we played last night, 21 and a half minutes, 2 points. So listen, part of stepping up is when someone in that second unit has to go to the starting, has to start, somebody else on the bench has to either come into the rotation and give us positive minutes, or if they're already in the rotation, step it up a little bit. And we didn't get that. I thought that Indiana, the Knicks don't view Indiana, and somebody said it in the chart, the way Indiana views the Knicks. They are up and ready for these games. They came out. You cannot tell me they shoot 50% from or 40% from three on the season.
No,
I don't know, but you can't tell. Last night they were 18 of 45, and they had like 12 of them in the first quarter. Like the way they came out in the first quarter should let you know, yeah, we come into play. And the Knicks just weren't able to match it. I don't know. I'm a little disappointed in last night's performance. But anything you have to say about that? And
I just to piggyback on what you said, absolutely. So the Pacers averaged 12 made 3-point field goals per game, and last night they had 18. And they had, as you said, but a little after halftime, they had eclipsed that. And we were over rotating again. Like Josh Hart was in the paint, like stay out on the shooters. That's what was successful. Like it was literally the game plan we used the last game against Boston with all of their shooters, but and maybe the case was that Boston just went 7 for 41 and Indiana made theirs, but I don't think it's as simple as that. I think as to your point about the bench, I was really disappointed in Alvarado's play. He missed 3 wide open looks from 3. All of them would have been game changers for us. He missed the free throw on his and one opportunity. He was sloppy with the ball. And his defense was not good. I mean, McConnell cooked him, as JJ rightly said. Like there was a stretch in the third quarter where McConnell scored 8 straight points for the Pacers, and that was a huge part of them having that 31-24 burst that got them the lead heading into the fourth quarter. And then the Knicks decided after Towns picked up his 5th foul that they were going to go with a lineup without Brunson or Cat on the floor, which to me is mind-bogglingly stupid. And again, you went from a 2-point lead, 10-5 run. Now you're down by 3 points and you're having to scramble. And so even the rotations by Mike Brown to me were puzzling.
Yeah, right.
And so a part of that is look, I think some of this is the Tom Thibodeau effect, right? And what I mean by that is last year we overplayed our starters and we didn't give the chance for the young guys to perform and those sorts of things. Well, sometimes when you're relying on young performers, you get a game like Mohamed Diawara had last night, right? He was awful. I mean, he was terrible in the minutes on the floor. He fouled consistently. He couldn't guard it. He couldn't guard his position. And maybe it's this that Siakam and company were stronger than Brown and physically, and that bothered him. I don't know if that was the case, but he was not good. And Landry Shamet, I know he hit in the last minute overtime. He hit a 3, maybe even 2, but he was 4 for 11 from 3, which is not really great. We need, he missed what would have been the game winner in regulation, and Towns makes an unbelievable play to get the rebound and get fouled, and hits 2 of the most onions free throws I ever saw. The Knicks waste that too. Like it's almost like so to me it was like they relaxed again. Like, okay, we got this to overtime. We've got this now. And then Indiana scores the first 9 points of overtime. It was the same malaise that kind of overtook them in the second half. We had recovered to a 6-point halftime lead. And I said, okay, well, maybe we'll settle in and get some stops. But our defense was just absent the entire night for absolutely no reason. It's crazy. it's crazy that they would put forth such a terrible effort after being really good in 9 of our last 10 games. We really looked a lot more like the Detroit game, and there was really no excuse for it.
Yeah, to me, that was the difference in the game, right? Offensively, we scored 134 points. We just couldn't get a stop. We had nothing for Siakam. Josh Hart wasn't the answer. He gives up. He might be, strong enough to kind of keep him out the paint. And you can even argue that, but he's given up so much in size that Siakam can just shoot over the top. I thought, did Mike Brown maybe want to go back to, Diawara, but Diawara definitely would have given up strength to Siakam. But it wasn't just Siakam though. Whoever got an open shot made it last night. There was no pressure. So you could have doubled. It's a tough decision for a coach. Like, do we double Siakam? Everybody else seems to be hitting whatever they have. So should we just stay home and live with him shooting over the top? Or do we double, take the ball out of his hand and have somebody else hit a three? Because it seemed like every shot they put up, they hit. I will say this though, and this is definitely an approach that's different from last year's team. I think the Knicks are willing to lose these types of games and think more about the macro. So I'm not sure if OG is still hurt or whether he's hurt and they're resting him until after, the All-Star break. I know Thibodeau would have played Robinson on the first half because we got to guarantee get the win that we have the best chance of getting. Mike Brown has a totally different, approach. And I think that's fine as well. I mean, betting that you can beat the Indiana team that has 3 wins on the road without Mitchell Robinson, that's a good bet. The Knicks just didn't show up. But my point is, you can see their approach. Like, they're willing to, I don't think they thought they would lose, but they're willing to take their chances on games like this instead of rushing, guys back and trying to get every single win, you can get, for better or for worse. Yeah. Tough. It was a tough game last night. Let's talk about Brunson, who, different opinions on him. I did think in the fourth quarter and overtime, the ball was in his hands a bit too much. I would have liked to have seen him run the offense, run the action, see what we can get out of it. I know there's some in the chat that said Brunson did what he had to do because nobody else, really had it. Others, he was, ball hogging. The narrative can go either way, because had he knocked down those shots, we would have been here talking about, look at Brunson, and how he came through for us in the fourth quarter in overtime with his clutch play, right? They don't go down. He should have passed the ball. He shouldn't have, he shouldn't have been taking those shots. I think I would like to split the difference and think that, some of those shots you take and, some of them, maybe you pass the ball around. He did even then had some really good looks and some really good passes for open shots in the fourth quarter and in overtime. Could he have done it a little more? Probably. Thoughts on Brunson?
Well, it's really an interesting dichotomy because until the fourth quarter and overtime, I thought he was having a really great game. But I do think that he tends to get into a pissing contest with guys like Nembhard and Nesmith instead of just letting the game come to him and playing the right way, for lack of a better phrase. You ask who was hot. Mikal Bridges was 3 for 3 in the fourth quarter. How about, getting him the ball instead of just taking that above the break 3-pointer?
I agree with that.
let's be cognizant of who's at their touch points. Bridges was hot all game long. I mean, I think he was like 9 or 15 for the field or something like that, and he was knocking them down. So at least give him the ball, and if he gets it back to you and that leads to the wide open three, that's fine. But like the first possession of overtime, I didn't even feel like we passed the ball. It felt like Brunson just got the ball up at the top, fired a three and missed. And then the next possession, it was Shamet who missed a three. And then the third possession, Towns got his offensive foul and was out of the game. And I think all 5 of his turnovers were offensive fouls. So, he only got 6 for the game. So, and I guess we'll talk about him in a minute. But, yeah, so, again, you're right. If he makes some of those shots, then I think we're okay. I honestly think that the poor bench play kind of put us in the position we were in where the game even came down to that, right? And again, the minutes in the fourth where he didn't have either Cat or Brunson on the floor is just foolishness to me. I don't really understand. You like who do you expect to carry the offense there? Like I don't. To me, you're making it easier on the Pacers. And it'd been one thing if we were guarding well during that stretch, but we were giving up points in the paint. Like they were just coming down and getting a layup every time down the floor, and we were with 3 stooges trying to get a field goal attempt. And so, to me, that was a big stretch in the game, and we just let one slip away.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I wasn't a fan of some of the rotations. Again, Mike Brown may have some data or, factors in his decision that I'm not aware of just watching it. But from what I saw, there were a few times where, I wasn't enamored with the rotation. Again, there was a time when there was, Clarkson, Brunson, Alvarado, if I'm not mistaken, in the game together. There was a time when, I didn't like Josh Hart on Siakam, but then when I looked and then he switched, and he put Bridges on him after Hart got cooked a few times. Bridges, did the best he can. Talking about Bridges, I thought Bridges was phenomenal defensively last night. If I watched Bridges, sometimes I just keep an eye on a player and not just watch the ball, but watch that player, even if they're off the ball. His screen navigation last night, his staying in front of the player, now I'm not saying that they didn't still shoot over the top of him. There was some tough shot making, but I thought Bridges' effort on the defensive end, because yesterday, the game before, I was like, I think we're giving Bridges too much credit defensively. Like, we just talk about how he's not a good screen navigator, but I don't think he's very physical defensively either. Like, he can't play a Cade or a Murray, or there was another player. They're just really physical with him, Jaylen Brown, and they're able to get their shot, because if they put their shoulder into him, he like falls back like 15 feet and they like have a wide open shot. Like, he's just not good with those type of players. Last night, and you can argue that maybe, the Indiana players weren't physical. His screen navigation, his physicality, his staying in front of those, like, he was really good last night. And to your point, Geoff, I thought his shot making was good. I thought he was aggressive. And to your other point, he hits 2-3 shots in a row. Here come Brunson, and I love Brunson. Here come Brunson taking this. Like, this is part of process. Like, this is part of understanding who's hot, who's not, who has it going, who doesn't have it going. Bridges has it going. Keep giving him the ball. Lord knows it's like Santa Claus. Like, it doesn't happen, all the time. when it does, feed him, So, yeah, I thought Bridges was really, really good last night. Let me just see. Let me just really quick. Bridges, 43 minutes. last night. 22 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and a partridge in a pear tree. He had a block. He went to the line 2 times, 9 of 15 from the field, only 2 of 6 from 3, but he took 15. He took 15 shots. I thought Bridges was really, really good last night. Yeah. Any thoughts on him? Anything to add? No?
I agree. It was a good Bridges night. I think that passivity, like in his personality, kind of speaks to, like, I think other players, like marquee players, would have been demanding the ball, and Bridges is not going to do that in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? And so, yes, it's up to Brunson, but I would and it's not him, so it's hard to say that. But you kind of would have liked him to recognize, hey, I'm hot. I've got to go and give me the ball. You know what I mean? And call for the ball, and instead of just like, oh, I ended up with the ball, let me take a shot. It's kind of, he knew he was on, he knew he was hot, and so I would have liked to have seen more from him. But he was one of the few bright spots, but even he was a -5 on the night. So we even struggled when he was on the floor. So
yeah. David Smith said Towns only 31 minutes. I mean, fouling out may have had something to.
He was in foul trouble all night. He did, and all of them were self-induced. He was, I think almost all of them were offensive fouls, and so he had. I think he had 17 shots and 5 turnovers, so that's 22 possessions of use and 22 points out of it. So we can say that Brunson wasn't good, but Towns was part of the problem too. If he doesn't get in foul trouble and stays on the floor, then we're probably in better shape as well. And he was 1 for 6 from beyond the arc last night. So he didn't shoot the ball from long range last night. I think he and Brunson were combined 5 of 20. And that was a big reason why we lost too. Like it wasn't just that they did hit 3-point shots. We didn't hit 3-point shots. We were terrible from the perimeter. And I think that speaks to the low energy and of the game. But we didn't lose the game just because of Brunson. We didn't lose the game just because of Cat. We didn't lose the game just because of the bench. We lost the game because Brunson didn't play at his peak. Cat had foul trouble, and the bench didn't show up, and Indiana's did. All of those things contribute. I mean, we can focus on the end of game plays or whatever, but the plays in the first 2 quarters and 3 quarters matter just as much, especially in a game that ends up going to overtime. And so, I think we tend to paint with the brush that we prefer, and so the Towns haters are going to say it's all his fault. He has no basketball IQ, like a Sherwin, and the Brunson haters are going to say hero ball never won anything, and this, that, and the third, and so there's truth on both sides of the argument, but I think that the tribalism is not necessarily helpful. It's better to realize that it's the totality of all of these factors, and not just focusing in on the one that we prefer to focus in on.
I mean, you can argue that, the Knicks were pretty even, in terms of they were 50 of 97, 51.5%. The Knicks were 5400, 50%. The Knicks went to the line 26 times, hit 19. The Knicks went to the line 27 times, hit 20. They had 33 assists. The Knicks had 30. Couldn't tell, right? But we had 33 assists. It was the 3-point shooting that wound up being the difference in the game. They were 18 for 45, shot a higher percentage than they usually shoot, made more threes than they usually do, and the Knicks were 14 for 46. You can say that was game. Offensive rebounds only 8. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson was out. We were still +6 in rebounding. But I just think when you have a team come out, they gain confidence when they start hitting shots. Now you're in a dogfight. Now you're in a a shootout. And that's what the Knicks found themselves in. And they were never able to reestablish themselves once Indiana got off to that hot start. And by that, meaning reestablish that we are the better team. They were never able to reestablish it once the horse got out of the barn, so to speak. And now you're in a dogfight, and now everything matters. Every possession matters. Brunson taking a bad shot matters. Cat fouling out. Everything matters now because the margins are so slim. Brown's rotations matter. The margins are slim at this point. And I think that's what happened. That's what happened to the Knicks. They were never able to impose their will on this team.
Yeah, the 3-point shot is a great equalizer in the NBA, and it can turn an under-talented roster. If you're knocking them down, you have the ability to stay in the game. I mean, so what did we hit? You said it was so we were like minus 18 from beyond the arc last night in a game that we lost by 3 points. So and went to overtime. So clearly, that their hot shooting kept them in it, and a lot of it was not their star guys. Like Shepherd hit 2 of 3, and I think whoever that Brown kid, I guess they got him from the Clippers. I think he hit one. Everybody. I think I think Tyrese Halliburton hit one from the bench last night in the game. So just a disappointing effort all the way around. And if you play with your food, sometimes it escapes, right? And then that's exactly what happened last night. We didn't take the game seriously from Jump Street. We didn't show the defensive fire and desire and intensity that we needed to. And it cost us. And yes, David Cat got us into overtime, but then he fouled out and was unavailable for the last 3 minutes of overtime. So he made a good clutch plays down the stretch. The free throws were amazing, but he was 8 of 17 from the field. He wasn't a dominant force on offense in a game where he really should have been, because they have nobody who can guard him.
But I think a lot of that has to do with how the Knicks play him.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. That's how the Knicks play him. Cat, I was reading an article. Cat is in a way different role this year. They want him to rebound, do what he can on the defensive end. Like Mike Brown actually said, and listen, he has the stats, so he might be right. He actually said Shamet has more gravity than Cat. And I'm saying, well, if that is the case, then maybe that has to do with how we're, how we're playing him. He was like, Shamet has more gravity than Cat. Cat does have some gravity. They do double team him at times. I was like, wow, like this is what we've been. This is how things have shifted, where Shamet has more gravity, than Cat. Okay. All right. I mean, he's an all NBA, all-star player, and Shamet has more gravity. Is that just Cat? Maybe. Is that how we're playing him? Like, maybe. Like, we've kind of de-emphasized him, and that's fine if you feel like we're a better team. Like, you can argue, you can look at the lineup data and say, listen, we're a better team with Cat in the role he's in right now. We'll see in the playoffs whether that bears itself out. But last night, for those into plus minus, Cat was +6. He did foul out. Again, when you're playing close to the margins, everything matters. 22 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 of 6 from the line. And I don't want to overstate it, because I know this is sounding more like a negative show, like pointing out all the negatives for the Knicks, because if you're like me, you're disappointed in this loss. But I will say this, the Knicks continue to fight. It's just that once that team is the horses out the barn, it's anybody's game. And the reason I say that is the Knicks were down with 1:40 left or something like that. The Knicks were down 4 points, 5 points, something like that. And they went on a run to get back into the game, down by however many points that was with 1:49. Like a team that's given up, they're not going on a run. Like it's over. It's it's a wrap. We're just going to lay down. It's over. The Knicks went on a run. When whoever it was missed that layup. In order for Cat to get that offensive rebound, if he had to be busting his ass down the court, you understand? That's not a player that's given up. That's not a team that's given up. The Knicks played through the game. They just lost. But this is more about what happens when you don't handle business early, when you don't dig deep and respond when a team shows you their best. Oh, whoa. Okay. All right. I wasn't expecting this, but okay. We got a little something in the tank and we're going to respond. The Knicks didn't respond above what Indiana did. They matched them and lost. But I thought that they hung in there with the runs that they went on. I mean, even to force overtime, I thought this game was going to be lost in regular season. I mean, in regulation. So they fought. They just shouldn't have had to be in a position to fight, I guess is what I'm saying.
100%. That's the gold star right there. That's the truth of the matter. Is it? Yeah, and once Pandora's box is open, you're never going to get all that back in. It's not the way that it works. And you give a team like Indiana, especially Indiana, who, this is their Super Bowl. You give them life. You give them hope. You don't step on their necks. Instead of when you're up 6 at half, instead of extending that lead in the fourth quarter, all of a sudden they're up by 1, and now you're in a dogfight, and they believe they can win, and you're building because they've done it time after time after time after time. They did it twice in the playoffs last year. They did it, the year before that, and muscle memory kicks in, and these guys. Siakam's a good player. And actually, I don't think Siakam ended up shooting the ball that well after a really hot start. So at some point in the game, we did something against him. But again, from a consistency standpoint, I think I would rather have just stayed at home on all the shooters. And if Siakam goes off for 50, okay. But I don't know that they're going to, if that happens, if they're going to, get 124.
Yeah, for sure. Jerrell, appreciate you rocking with us as always. If Shaman has more gravity than Cat, that's obviously a coaching issue. Brown saying that publicly is telling on himself. Just in terms of how he's seeing it, how he's seeing both of their roles, and maybe in terms of how those who understand schemes could probably understand what he's saying better than I can. Maybe he's saying in terms of how we like to play right now, Shamet has more gravity than Cat. Indiana G League squad was tough. Eddie FICO, very embarrassing, self-inflicted loss. Until Brunson passes to his mates, we're going nowhere. I don't think this is a every game thing. Inakaka. I hope I got that right. Shamet does have more gravity. He's a 3-point shooter. Cat isn't. Okay.
Cat usually is, though. I mean, Cat's shooting 35% on the season. He had a bad night last night, but Cat is a 3-point shooter, and a volume one. So I disagree with that 100%. In fact, I think he's a better 3-point shooter than Shamet is, especially if you look at career numbers.
He is. Yeah.
So
career-wise, he is. Yeah. And they don't come off of Cat when he's playing at the top of the key, right? That affords us the spacing, that we see a lot of times. All right. Anything else before we get to the chat? We just take a quick. Hart with a triple-double, second of the season, 14 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. We talked about Cat, 22 points. 14 rebounds. The Knicks shot well, 500 from the field. Well, 500 from the field, but only 30.4% from 3, which means on non-threes, they were phenomenal. They got up 3 more shots than Indiana, 33 assists, plus 3 rebounds. Neither team turned the ball over a lot. The Knicks with 12, Indiana with 11. Knicks for 12 points in the paint, plus 11 fast break points, right? You would think Indiana would win that. Maybe less so without Halliburton. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I want to hear what the chat has to say.
Yeah.
It's a
Let's
good
see what
conversation.
the chat has to say. Give us
Let's
something to talk about.
let's let them cook.
All right. Salute to you, Knick Nation. Wiz wasn't happy. Inokakai. I don't think I got that right, but we appreciate you rocking with us and being a part of the replay game. Thought the officiating wasn't good. Kim Doc, sloppy season by the Knicks. So up and down, severely inconsistent. They're not getting up for teams that are up for them. When will they learn? Yeah, the Knicks have had like some really good wins and then some really bummed out, like disappointing losses.
It's kind of the opposite of last year when we lost all the games against Cleveland and Boston, but we really did a good job of taking care of business against the lower half of the league. And so my question, I guess, is this: would you surrender a couple of those good wins if it meant taking care of business against? I mean, obviously the answer is we want both, but part of this coaching philosophy and how this works is that sometimes it's going to happen, right? If you're giving the long haul perspective, have everybody, like we certainly could have used Mitchell Robinson last night, for example, or we certainly could have leaned more heavily on our veterans last night if we wanted to. All those types of things. I'm not saying that we should have. I'm just saying that there's a trade-off there, and sometimes that trade-off means nights like last night, and sometimes it means nights like the night before when we beat the pants off of Boston in their own building. So it is what it is, but overall, you're still 34-20. I mean, that, you're still where you can do some big things and get to where you want to go, but there's a lot of season left, a lot to do.
For sure. David Smith, the Knicks are 14-13 this season when Brunson has more than 20 field goal attempts. Knicks are 14-2 this year with at least 30 assists. They had at least that last night, and 20-2 last year. Okay. I don't understand Brunson's ego-driven, I have to cook Nimhard every single possession song and dance, play team basketball. Yeah, I did. There were some possessions in that fourth quarter where I would have liked to have seen the ball move a little bit. But for a guy like that, there's also going to be times when they are going to take over. Like you see that if you watch any player who's really good with the ball in their hand, you will see that. It's just when they choose to do it, and it always looks better when they choose to do it and the shots fall than when they choose to do it and it doesn't. But you're going to see that with any ball dominant player. There will be times when they will take it upon themselves. Knick Nation, appreciate you. Part of the fam. This was more frustrating because it was Indiana. They have our number, and as fans, we are all sick of it. Okay? Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. JJ, appreciate you. Always rocking with us from the beginning. Brunson down the stretch in the fourth didn't pass at all, and he was bricking. But that's Brunson, and we're going to live and die with the way he played. I mean, JJ also brings up a good point. You could try to take over. Maybe if you miss 2-3 in a row, you come out of that. You go to something else, and you come back to it. But these players, and I had the opportunity to coach one who's really, really good. They always feel like the next one is going down. That's part of their confidence. You could say overconfidence that, the next one is going to go down. Oh man, that was right there. I'm getting my shot. The next one is going to go down. In game, I think the Knicks still take the Celtics more seriously than the Pacers based on how they played the Sunday versus yesterday. You may have a point there that maybe they don't get up as much for Indiana. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Pacers have been much more of our nemesis than the Celtics have over the last 5 years. I mean, the regular season last year was bad against Boston, but we go toe to toe with them in the postseason. Indiana's beaten us every playoff series since '99. It feels like.
Yeah. I think Mike Brown is coasting through the first half and will tighten up after the break going into the playoffs. Like tighten up in terms of the rotations. I mean, I think he's been fine. Like I don't really want to get into, and I'm not saying this is what you're doing. Kaka. I'm not sure this is what you're saying, but just in general, I don't want to get into when we lose, Mike Brown is terrible. When we win, he's good. You know, when we win, his rotations was great. If we lose, his rotations was terrible. Though there were a few lineups, I should say, I didn't quite understand last night. McConnell cooked Alvarado, yeah, and whoever else was on him too.
Yeah.
We gave up as he often does.
Always against the Knicks, never against anybody else. But he sees that orange and blue, and he turns into Larry Bird for some reason.
Yeah, we gave up too many wide open threes. Let them get that to me, JJ, right from the beginning of the game. I don't know how many threes they had in that first quarter, but I definitely noticed that they took 17 threes. Is that right? In the first quarter alone, and hit 7 of them for 43.8% from three in the first quarter. Yeah.
Which is a ridiculous volume if you think about it. That's like on pace to shoot 70 threes in a game nearly. 17 threes is a lot in a single quarter, and to hit 7 of them. And at one point they were 11 of 23, I think. So, yeah, they just really continued that on in the second quarter as much as, as anything. It was, and again, and by the time they cooled off a little bit, then the Knicks were in the penalty early in the fourth quarter, and loose ball fouls ended up sending them to the line for 4 free points, right? Because they were in the bonus with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, I think. And so it's just hustle plays, not really a ton of contact or anything, but you end up giving them free points. And so it's really, that those don't help either.
Yeah. I'm putting a link in the chat for our Facebook page. One way to support the channel is to help us be able to stream to Facebook. I think we need 8 more subscribers. So if you guys can just take the time, hit the link that I just put in the description, and just subscribe to the page. It should just take 1 minute, if that. Should take less than a minute to subscribe to the page so we can stream to Facebook as well. East Blue Drew, they played with their food last night. Okay. All right. David Smith, Brunson cost us the game yesterday. Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not put it on one player. Like, if you want to point out that in that fourth quarter and overtime, Brunson should have passed the ball more, that's fine to point that out. But to say he cost us the game, what about Cat fouling out? Right? I don't think it's on one player. What about Mike Brown and his rotations? What about, Josh Hart? What about whoever? Again, it was a game of inches last night. I think everyone played a part in it. Guarding Siakam with guys who are 6'3" wasn't a, recipe for disaster. Kim Doc, neither Timms nor Brown can figure out what to do with Siakam because OG can't guard him either.
He at least has size, though. That's the thing. Last night we didn't really have any. I mean, DOR couldn't even do it. We didn't have anybody really to put on him that was super effective. I mean, all of our guys were either too small or too slow, and it showed.
Yeah. Rick has our number, and we got to be better, period. He's taking young, undeveloped players and making them world beaters against us, and it's extremely frustrating. Tough to watch, lack of ball movement. I agree. But let's not give – I think Rick is one of the top coaches in the league. They won 3 – they came in on a 4-game winning streak with these same – 4-game losing streak with these same players that he's developing. And they've won 3 games on the road with these same players he's developing, right? So they play well against us, But let's not act like he's developed them to the point that, they're world beaters this season. They're not. They just stepped their game up against us, and the Knicks didn't respond. Shout out to Lee Escobedo, Nick of Time Show. Appreciate you. Shout out to my two friends and compatriots. Yeah. Appreciate you for stopping by. I disagree with everything you were saying. That's totally fine. We often disagree with you as well. That's what makes the show, right? Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. Oz Gray, 24-38, no defense at all. We could sit here and talk about the offense and Brunson taking shot. Like, the Knicks scored enough points to win. More than enough points to win, even in regulation. Defensively, they had nothing for Indiana. Jose G Insight, 18 threes for the Pacers and Knicks missing free throws. You ain't winning?
Indiana missed as many free throws as we did, if not more. So it's not just about, it's the free throws are true, but that goes both ways. They missed. I mean, Siakam missed one that practically gave us the game. I mean, that Shamet three was in the middle of the rim, circled the rim and went out before Cat got fouled. So, that goes down, and the conversation probably a little bit different this morning.
Yeah, Jamrock always. Pacers averaged the least points in the league, ranked the worst offensive rating in the league, and we gave up 124 points in regulation. Yeah. You're right. That's what I'm saying. If you want to just talk about, if we came here and just talked about the defense, that would be fair. Okay. Let me just see if some others. Geraldine MacGyver, I appreciate you rocking with us, sis. I agree with you. Brunson needs to pass the ball. Yeah. I mean, he did have. I'm not going to act like he didn't pass the ball the entire game, right? He did have 8 assists. He did make some really nice passes, like that one to Huck Porty. I was like, wow. Late in the game, but there was a period of time in that fourth quarter in the OT where I thought he could have been better with the ball. Nick Nation, Kolek should have had some minutes. Jose being thrown in too fast. Can't talk about having chemistry and then throwing it away for a new toy and putting that toy, in the toy chest. Yeah, I hear you, Nick Nation. Overall, I think Alvarado is going to be better for the team than he wasn't great last night. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. But overall, I think he's going to be better for the Knicks than Kolek. And I could be wrong. But I think when you take the entire season, when we get to the end of the season and we look back, this is either a failed experiment or we're going to say that he was better for us than Kolek was or would have been in those minutes. I believe that. We'll see. I could be wrong. It may not play out that way. The Knicks really believe in him. I don't think they see him as a toy. I know that was just a figure of speech. I think they see him as a big part of their championship or at least playoff aspirations. Getting a point guard in here who's small, doesn't shoot great. Well, didn't shoot great last night, but there's spots on the floor in which he does shoot well. We'll see. We'll see how it works out, because this is like Thibodeau with Josh Hart, where Thibodeau actually seemed like went to the airport and got Josh Hart and brought him back, and like he just came into the rotation and he's been there ever since. This is kind of similar, right? Where Jose Alvarado's been here 2 games and Kolek is just like a fart in a dust storm, just not in the just like not in the rotation. So we shall see. Let me just get to some people that we didn't get to. Chris Gotti, every game matters. Yeah. Pressure. I hope I got that right. That was a good one, Geoff. McConnell turns into bird every time he sees orange and blue. Yeah, he does. That's true. Pacers are tanking, and Knicks, they weren't tanking last night, though.
No.
They weren't tanking last night.
They probably will their next game, whoever it's against. They'll probably not play nearly as well. You'll see that really late.
All the starters are going to sit the next game just to make up, just to make up for this. Okay. Rick Carlisle, way better coach than Mike Brown, and a lot of other coaches in the league as well, including Thibodeau. Some would, right? He's one of the best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
2 or 3. I mean, he has a championship in Dallas. He's a great defensive-minded coach. He's the work that he's done with the Pacers offensively. I know it hasn't showed up without Halliburton as much, but their offense was just elite in the last 2 seasons. And so, yeah, he can do it on both ends of the floor. He's very good schematically. He adjusts well. Very sharp coach. Probably the top 2. He and Mazzulla are probably the top 2 coaches in the league right now, in my opinion.
I would put Spo there as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, saying he's a better coach than Mike Brown is not saying he's a better coach than most NBA coaches. I said Mike Brown and Brunson and Cat. Like, come on, Geoff. Geoff, David Smith, I get it. But you got to be critical of Cat sometimes. So it's just hard for us to take you serious. Like, you can like a player and you could go to bat for a player, but you got to call out the BS when you call out the BS. Cat fouled out the game. A lot of those fouls were offensive fouls. Yeah, I think I'm fair to Cat, but you still got to call out the boneheaded plays. You still got to call out the fact that on the shots that he does get, the Knicks may not be featuring him, whatever, but the shots that he does get are in his wheelhouse. And he's not knocking them down. That's on him. The offensive fouls are on him. Him not being where he's supposed to be defensively is on him. So don't come in here all the time talking about how Cat is being treated unfairly and not at least one time talk about the other side, because then we can take you a bit more seriously. He fouled out the game. Yeah, I appreciate them running and getting that offensive rebound and pushing it into overtime. And it seemed like the very next play he was on the bench. Come on, you gotta call it both ways now. All right. Okay. I'd love to see our record with and without Mitch. I'm sure that I don't know what it is. I'm sure it's out there. All right. Anything else? Oh, that's all? Stewart suspended 7 games during 2 games. Okay. Jabroni, appreciate you. The Pacers put the tank on hold just to show us they're coming.
And they are, with Zubac and Halliburton coming back, plus a potential lottery pick, depending on where their pick falls. Yeah, they are definitely coming.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. Any last words, Geoff?
Got to turn it around and show what you got against Philly tonight. Like, you rested Robinson for a reason. Hopefully Anunoby plays, but I doubt that at this point. And it's going to be a tough ball game. We're going to need Alvarado to help us contain Maxey and Edgecombe tonight, I have a feeling. So I expect a heavy minutes load from him. And look, Jay, I know that Jerrell lives in the Philly area, so we got to get this one for him. If we're 1-3 against Philly, he's going to have a miserable week at work because they're just going to be all over him. So Knicks, win this one for my guy Jerrell.
Right. I will say about Alvarado, I don't know about shutting down Maxey and Edgecombe. Make them work. Make them expend, a bit more energy, have to turn, multiple times before half court. You know what I mean? Like just make them have to work a little bit because they're more physical, than Alvarado, and they can shoot over the top, right? So I think his advantage is, making them having to be extra careful and mindful when they have the ball and beating them to the spot and making them turn. David Smith said, Cat's layups have been bad. Not sure why. That's all you can come up with. You're going to have to do a little better than that. You know how you hand the paper in and the teacher said, you're going to have to do a little better. They slide it back and be like, you know what? Take this home with you and hand it in tomorrow. Him missing layups is not the only thing going on with Cat this season. Come on. It's not it can't be everybody else's fault, and Cat has nothing to do with it. And I don't know if you can find bigger Cat supporters than Geoff and I. I don't. Well, David Smith, fair Cat supporters than Geoff and I. But yeah, you. There's one thing.
He owns the island for a reason, Queen.
Is one thing to be a hater. It's another thing to be delusional and only see what you want to see, right? That's the flip side of being a hater, right? Yeah, I mean, come on. That's right, Kim Doc. I'm on it, man. Ever so often I get a little hot, Cat's layups are the least of the issues, yo. Exactly. Come on, man. Anyway, did it come through? Did I thought I spammed. I didn't even see it though. I thought I spammed the link for the Facebook page.
You did. You showed it up 3 times. It showed
it is in there.
On the chat. Right. I saw it for sure.
Okay. All right. Family, again, I'm gonna give you a few ways. That's the QR code to the Facebook page. Is also in the description to the show, and it's also in the chat. We need 8 more subscribers so that we can begin to stream the Facebook, and we'll do Twitter as well. I think Twitter is just not as, where you just have to click a button. Like you got to do a little bit more for Twitter. If you know anything about me, if there's any friction, it takes me a while to get it. I think it's a little friction to stream to Twitter, but not to Twitter, to Instagram. That's what I meant, to Instagram. But I will do it. All right. Tomorrow, Geoff and I will be back, same time, 12:30, to talk about this game tonight versus Philadelphia, which I think the Knicks are going to get up for, and I think the Knicks will win. I really do. I think they'll be up for it. I think they'll win. I think we'll still be without OG. I would be shocked if they bring him back for this one game before.
I would too. I agree.
Before the All-Star break. But the Knicks tend to respond after a poor outing, right? So
yeah, hopefully.
He was like, I lost tonight. I hear you, Steph, with all of this stuff. You talking about how they're going to put 2 words I got for you, 3 syllables, lost tonight. I think the Knicks win tonight. They tend to respond. I think they win tonight, and I need Mike Brown to be a little better tonight, too. And maybe he felt like his guys weren't playing well, and he didn't have a lot of option. Andrew K, appreciate you. Back to back after a double OT won't be easy. It was just single OT, right? Yeah. It felt like that though. It felt like a double OT game. Yeah, Geoff, you already know. I appreciate you making these shows really easy to do, and something I look forward to. Just a really, really good basketball mind. And I'm often saying, I wonder what Geoff thinks about this. Oh, I'm gonna see what Geoff thinks about this tomorrow, on the show. So just thank you for being who you are and leveling up this particular show and the channel overall, along with my guy Jerrell and Ajay Delusional Knick Nation. We've grown a really, really nice family. S-Guard drops in at time. We appreciate him just growing a nice family over here.
It's good to be part of the crew. That's all. I enjoy it a lot, and it's a lot of fun to do these shows. And for me, it's therapy. I did not start that comment, by the way. I did not start that comment. By the way. Full disclosure, y'all don't see the inside baseball. I did not start that comment. I want that on the record.
Geoff sometimes be starring the comments that praise him. Anyway, we appreciate everybody in the chat, man, just coming in and being so active most days. Appreciate the replay gang. I think Inokaka, I know I got that wrong. Please forgive me. Let it be known he's part of the replay. He or she is part of the replay gang. So we appreciate you rocking with us, and the silent listeners as well. And so we will see you tomorrow. Peace.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Don't so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't so.
What?
Don't so.
What?
You're so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Oh, he said it's pronounced Ino.